All right, everybody. So for this week, hopefully you guys enjoyed the first week of the NFL playoffs. I thought it was absolute cinema. I feel like the fellas here would agree with me on that one. We got a lot of great games from that last week. And first things first, I'm gonna go over my personal favorite game of the week. It was up there. It was really hard to rank them. You know what I mean? But Bills versus the Jaguars. Now nobody they don't got their jerseys on today. You know, Jerry doesn't have his Jags jersey on. Dom doesn't have his Steelers jersey on. We know I'm not throwing the Browns jersey on unless something real big happens. But Jaguars, they weren't able to eke out the victory in that one. Like Dom and Jeremiah thought. If y'all saw their playoff brackets, you know they had them going far. I got the Eagles wrong too. But they definitely had the Jaguars going very far. So that final score of that game was 27-24, and that was a wonderful game to watch, fellas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good game. I think I mentioned in last week's video that I pretty much I thought whoever won out of the Jags and the Bills was probably going to go to the Super Bowl because I think that those are probably the two best teams in the AFC. So the Bills get it done. I bet the Bills are going to win the AFC now. So it was a great game. It was back and forth the whole time. And the Bills, I mean, when you have Josh Allen tush pushing 12 yards, what do you do?
Yeah.
But it was a good game for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the Bills did everything they wanted to. They limited the Jags' offense. They limited the turnovers and everything like that. The main thing, of course, that last drive, that last interception, Trevor Lawrence tried to do too much when he had too much time on the clock. He had, I don't know if it was 3 timeouts. I wasn't really watching the game too much because I was also at work. But I don't know if he had 3 timeouts, 2 timeouts. But you have a minute to get in the field goal range of Cam Little, who can kick a 70-yard field goal.
Yeah.
I think they had 2 timeouts because I'm pretty sure they had 3 at first, but then there was a situation where Liam Cohen called a timeout to stop a 10-second runoff whenever they were doing like a review. So then they had 2. And then very first throw on that drive for potentially game tying was a pick. And I was literally on games with Dom, and I was like, let's see what T-Law can do here on this drive. And his was a little bit ahead of mine on his stuff. And he goes, oh, pick. I was like, oh, man, bro.
Man, it wasn't even it was crazy. It was the ball was on a line. It actually hit bro right in his hands. But it was like one of those T-Law throws where it's like almost too perfect. In the window was like closing so fast that it was just like too hard of a ball to catch.
And I have
there's a lot of things about T-Law. Like T-Law played a great game. It was just like that's one of his confident interceptions. Like he throws that with so much confidence, so much zip. No, because like it wasn't the best decision, but it wasn't like a terrible decision either. Like you said, it hit him in the hands. It just was a ball that was too hot. Probably should have went somewhere else and then got picked or got tipped in the air. And you know what happens from there.
Y'all are hilarious. I know how much y'all love T-Law for that interception. It was just so confident. It was just
it really, bro.
No, I've been saying this the whole year. I've been saying this the whole year. Even at the beginning of the year, I was like, the interceptions that he throws in like the past couple years, you watch them, they're not like something where he hesitates. He's confidently throwing. He's confidently zipping those balls.
That doesn't mean it's a good ball.
No, when it comes out.
Crazy.
Okay, like you know certain passes are going to be interceptions, either by like the quarterback's reaction to the throw or his hesitation to throw it, and he's just throwing it because he's under pressure or something like that. He had a great pocket. He threw that thing with full confidence on his face. That didn't happen.
Bro, maybe a BT didn't have 2 hands made of bricks. It maybe.
That's a fact, though. That's a fact.
I mean,
he did catch the first touchdown, though. He got them on the board first.
They led the league in drops, and we never talked about it on the show. They led the league in drops, and they were a 13-win team. That's like something unheard of.
Ridley, they've been leading the league in drops, bro.
This game overall, though, was back and forth. It felt like at the end of the game, you kind of knew it was whoever was getting the ball last or, scoring last was going to win that football game, and that's kind of what ended up happening. Huge game for Parker Washington as well. We've been talking about him the last few weeks. He got hurt during the first half of that game, came back in the second half, And I'd say if they Jags won that game, I mean the MVP of that football game was going to be Parker Washington. He made so many big time catches when it was absolutely necessary. Ended that game 7 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. So the Jags next season are gonna they have a loaded wide receiver room there where they have BTJ, Travis Hunter, Parker Washington, and Jacoby Myers as well. I would love any single one of those guys on the Browns, but we don't know how to get good receivers. We just don't. But that was a wonderful football game there. Like I said, 27-24 Buffalo Bills. It really just felt like Josh Allen was the difference in that football game, and that was kind of my opinion pre-games. I thought the Jaguars were going to lose by a very small amount, but Josh Allen just kind of took the Bills over the top. My other favorite game from this wild card weekend, the Rams, coming from Los Angeles, rolling into the Panthers in North Carolina, and that game was 34-31 Rams. But that was scary, man. The Rams were on the verge of losing that football game for sure. It felt like to be honest, I mean, after they jumped out 14-0, and you thought, okay, this might be an ass whooping. But then Bryce Young started wheeling and dealing and getting it to Tet and getting it to Tet and getting it to Tedero McMillan. And then all of a sudden the Panthers started rolling. They got some momentum. The defense started playing a little bit better. And then it really came down to the last 3 minutes there of that football game. Bryce Young completes a touchdown to Jalen Coker with 2 minutes and 39 seconds left in the football game. And the Rams just came out and got a touchdown there to Parkinson. I think that was with like 30 or so seconds left. So that football game, man, I still think I got the Rams winning the Super Bowl, but I'm going to say shout out to the Panthers, man. One thing we said last week, we all said we want to see Bryce do well, and Bryce Young definitely balled out. That was a wild game as well.
Yeah, Bryce, I don't know if you guys saw this too. He got his fifth-year option picked up very shortly after that game. So
give him the extension right now, bro.
He will definitely, I'm sure he will definitely be getting extension here. I think he finally put a little hush to all the noise. Oh, are they going to extend him? Are they going to trade him? I think, I think this is something we've preached all year. When Bryce's back is against the wall, this is when the guy plays ball. He's out there.
Bars.
He does. He's just out there. He knows how to win football games. He's done it his whole life. Just a straight winner. What didn't we talk about? He lost like 2 games in high school or
something like that.
Maybe,
I think
I don't even know if he lost a game in high school, like Alabama and winning there. So it's like, shout out to him and keeping his football team in the game for sure. And the Panthers defense did him a disservice because he won them that football game and they just blew it. But yeah, the Rams, I think they got some things to clean up because while the Panthers, they fought really hard. We knew that they weren't a very strong team in the playoffs. So if they're going to want to continue winning games, they're going to have to clean up a lot, especially Matt Stafford. I threw a couple picks, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Let me double check that.
It was either one or two. I know he threw one for sure.
He threw one. He threw one.
Yeah.
Before Jerry gives his take too, the one thing I said as well about the Rams, their secondary is not good, man. Their secondary is not good, and that's I think the biggest issue with me about the Rams as well as their secondary. Like Emmanuel Forbes was out there getting toasted. Tedero McMillan was going crazy. Jalen Coker was hitting some big catches, and if you're playing, in a more meaningful football game after the wild card round, your corner's got to tighten that up.
For sure.
Yeah, this game, it ended about the way I thought it was going to. It went completely the opposite way of where I was going to go. I thought the Panthers, were going to lean on their backs more. They leaned on an incredible performance by Bryce Young, and he kept up with Matt Stafford. The thing about Bryce and the quarterbacks of this league, the quarterbacks in this league have to be so consistent and have little to no bad spots in the season to where, people are going to question their ability to lead a team. And, of course, Bryce has had ups and downs during his whole career. But this year, he's cleaned up a lot of his mistakes, even though he hasn't had the best supportive cast around him. We were talking about the wide receivers earlier in the season. They weren't looking their best. So the fact that he came out there, wheeled and dealed, yeah, the Rams don't have the best secondary, but they can mask it with their front four. And they have an amazing front four. Jared Verse gets in there a lot. So they have some talent on that front four. But Bryce Young, he stood up to adversity and did something I did not think he was going to do. He actually put a hole through the wall. Because, like, when you go up against that wall, Bryce Young, a lot of times they ain't coming back, man. But he did, and he ran to the tunnel, and he greeted every single one of his teammates. So, not gonna lie, fifth-year option was deserved. And the Rams, I don't think the Rams. The thing about the Rams, they have ups and downs in games a lot. Like, it's a lot of times where their offense is just stagnant, and then there's also times where it's just looking like the best show on turf, and they can do no wrong. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball with efficiency. So I think they'll be just fine. I don't know. I honestly didn't look at who they played. If they play the Niners, give them a good shot. If they play anybody else, it'll look a little bit different.
Let me actually double check on that right now. So the Rams next week up and coming. Let me take a quick look here.
I think they're playing the Bears.
Yeah, the Rams are playing the Bears. They are playing the Chicago Bears.
Okay. I mean, that's a good matchup for the
That's
Rams.
going to be a great game.
The Chicago Bears offense is even more stagnant than theirs. Like, sometimes Chicago just can't put up points. They put up 16, if I'm not mistaken, last week. I'm not sure. But
came back, big comeback, remember?
Oh, yeah, they did have that big comeback. Yeah, I'm thinking of the wrong game.
They were stagnant for most of the game, for sure.
Yeah, but he turned it up, honestly. I mean, Ben Johnson deserves every dollar of that contract that he signed.
Also, on the Panthers side of things, again, we gave a shout out to Bryce, Tedoroa, Jalen Coker. Chuba Hubbard, 2 touchdowns for him. Jalen Coker, 9 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. So he was phenomenal as well in that game. And the last shout out I was going to give on the Panthers side of things is J.C. Horn, man. J.C. Horn is such a lockdown corner. It was like some of the times he was having to guard Devontae Adams, like, that has got to be one of the scariest sights in front of you as an NFL quarterback, is Devontae Adams and his whole Allen Iverson crossover ass route running. And he took on those challenges, and he was locking up Devontae Adams for a solid portion of that game. Now, Adams still had a solid game. He had 72 receiving yards, but there were a lot of plays where Adams could have had a 30-yard catch, 20-yard catch, and Adams was just locked down for Mr. Horn. And Puka Nacua as well, he started out the game hot. I think he scored the first touchdown for the Rams, and he had 10 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown as well. Stafford, over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. So even though he threw that pick, statistically still a good game. It felt like he could have did a little bit better, but that was a super high-scoring affair. Rams barely eked that one out. The next, again, absolute cinema of a game, beautiful football game. I really enjoyed Bears versus the Packers. And that, to me, was probably the most entertaining to watch that comeback. I mean, Caleb Williams did it again. 31-27 was the final score in that game. And I just loved everything about that game. I loved the crowd energy, the fans with all their cheese grater hats on, Caleb Williams after the game grating the cheese in front of all the media members and everything. And I thought the Bears were completely down and out, and I didn't think they were coming back, despite them doing it a million different times this year. As we've said, it feels like every week. But I did say if the Bears were to come back and win, that would be the most Bears thing to ever possibly happen. And that was what happened. So, situation of that game, we had 27-16. Jordan Love gets a touchdown. They're up 11.6 minutes remaining in the football game. Caleb Williams comes back down, hits Olamide Zaccheaus for a touchdown. They get a stop, get the ball back, and then it's another Caleb Williams, DJ Moore game-winning touchdown, and the defense locked it down for the Bears. So like Jeremiah just said, Ben Johnson deserves all of the money that he is getting, all of the hype that he is getting, and I think the Bears are, I'm not going to say they're in my top teams to win a Super Bowl, but they're sneaky, man. They're sneaky.
The Bears are a good team, man. Like you said, Ben Johnson ties it all together. But we've seen this, and you just can't continue to win games by a few points.
And that's a Caleb.
And come back every single game. It's just not winning. You can't sustain winning football that way. They're doing it right now. Now remember, last year the Chiefs, same situation, and then look this year. They're on the whole opposite side of it. I think they were like 1-score games this year. So it's like it's fun when you're on the right side of that ball, but on the other side of that, it's not too fun. And they are a very talented team, so I think that they'll be able to figure it out. But that going forward, especially because we see what the Niners can do if the Niners get out of their game and Seattle or even the Seahawks are going to give them problems. And that's like those deep are not defenses you want to go down 20 points and try to come back from. But shout out to them. They dug their toes down deep and they grinded that game out. So that was a really exciting one to watch. They scored 25 points in the fourth quarter. So the Packers only scored 27 total. So that's, you look at it like that, you're like, dang, that's crazy. But yeah, what a game. I watched the end of that game and that was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are four quarters for a reason. You know, people do have the ability to come back, and sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. It's good to have the ability to come back and show that no matter what happens, your team's still going to be resilient. Of course, you don't want to lean on it, and I don't think they do. I think, of course, just pieces fall how they fall. First halves can be derailing. But one thing about that Packers team is they have to get something figured out in terms of who's the alpha dog on offense and who's really going to drive that offense for the whole year. Because you have Matthew Golden, great receiver, especially his performance in that last game. If you want him to be the one, you have to make sure he gets opportunities to be a one. If you want to run the offense through Josh Jacobs, you've got to run the ball effectively. Like, they haven't really had an identity on offense. And yeah, they have a great team overall. They have pieces and stuff like that. But if you don't have a true identity, it makes it hard to sustain games and to play for four quarters the way you want to if you don't necessarily have something in place that you want to, key on. So the Bears, of course, they did their thing. They came back. Ben Johnson is a wild play caller. He's always going to have play calls for any moment. So the Bears are looking good. Their defense definitely had sparks. They also had a lot of holes in that game. So, they're a defense who's opportunistic. They're going to get their turnovers. They're going to make plays and stuff. But you don't really want to rely on, like Dom said, being down 21, being down 18, being down 14 in the first half, and just, thinking that your offense can make something happen in the fourth.
And kind of like Jeremiah just said, man, I mean, all those receivers, they're all great. If you look at the statistics, again, they'd back up saying they all had great games. I mean, 4 different receivers scored a touchdown. Romeo Doubs had over 100 yards and a touchdown. Matthew Golden had 84 yards and a phenomenal touchdown. Jaden Reed scored a touchdown. Christian Watson scored a touchdown. Jordan Love also threw no picks. He only got sacked once. Which that's insane to me looking over those numbers right now at the moment. The Packers defense really just fell apart during the last portion of that football game. Definitely should have won that game. But going forward, Josh Jacobs, he really did not do so great as well. 19 carries for 55 yards. He hasn't been running the ball as effectively. And if he was maybe able to run the ball a bit more effectively, maybe the Packers could have killed some more clock, made it so that the Bears had less opportunities to get the football back and kind of maintain that lead there at the end of that game. Things, like I said, other than, all the things on the Packers side, on the Bears side of things, Caleb Williams, 361 yards for Caleb, and Colston Loveland. I don't even know if y'all knew this.
I did.
Colston Loveland was the Bears' leading receiver this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that, but I know he bowled out.
Colston Loveland and Luther Burden were the 2 leading receivers for the Chicago Bears this season, both the rookies. And Colston Loveland, 8 catches for 137 yards in that game. Colston Loveland is legit. And I love that video of him singing Mario to the team. I know he's a Michigan man and we're Ohio State men, but that video is hilarious. That is straight gold.
I mean, we're Ohio State men, but we're happy he's in the NFL. Like, we hated him when he was at Michigan. But
right, now I don't care anymore. It's like, whatever. You know what I mean? So that was probably, like I said, we got absolutely blessed with those playoff games right there. And there were some more good ones as well. Next one we'll go over here. Eagles versus the Niners. Now, that game was kind of a little bit of a snooze fest at first. It felt like both defenses were kind of just locked in. They were getting big stops. Niners 23 to the Eagles 19. And really, that was just a problem for the Eagles in terms of they couldn't get anything rolling other than Saquon Barkley. And that's why they scored 19 points. If the passing game picked it up a little bit, I think they would have won this football game. You had Devontae Smith did really well for them. Goddard scored a touchdown, but A.J. Brown was pretty much non-existent. And then on the Niners side of things, Brock Purdy. Decent game from Brock Purdy. He did throw 2 picks, but he managed the game because I'm going to say it. He's a game manager, and he managed the game. Demarcus Robinson, over 100 yards for him as well. Did not expect that out of him. I said this game, pre-cap, my opinion on is I would be much more excited if these teams were both kind of healthy and in that mode that they were in last season. And it kind of followed that script. It wasn't really the most entertaining game, but good football game. Niners eked that one out by 4.
Well, the Niners were terrible last year, so I know you're not talking about those Niners.
Sorry. Last
They
two.
won like 4 games last year.
Right.
But if Kyle Shanahan doesn't win Coach of the Year, I think it's just
He won't, bro. You know he won't. It's a storyline award.
it's just I feel like there's literally no better coach team in the league, and it shows through when you have so many elite players, and they lost another one. It's so unfortunate. George Kittle tore his Achilles, and when you lose so many elite players, and you still are in there putting up a fight. Not only putting up a fight, you're winning the game against a team coming off a Super Bowl last year. I know that the Eagles haven't looked too hot this year, but again, they're reigning Super Bowl champs from last year, and they figured out a way to tough that one out. So that was a crazy game. And then on the Philly side of the ball, honestly, I think that was their game to lose, in my opinion. And
Absolutely,
AJ Brown really dudded.
The drops were bad.
Massive drops, and ones that were like right there, like right on the hands. And
yeah,
you can tell that he's just not fully in anymore, because those are not balls that AJ Brown usually drops.
yeah.
So I do not expect him to be with Philadelphia next year, and it'll be interesting to see like what the Eagles will do this offseason. But shout out to the 49ers. They're still doing it. They're still getting done through all the adversity, and Kyle Shanahan is an absolute genie.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan is a genie on offense and can literally do anything with any piece. Like, bro's a chess player. You give him any piece on the board, and he'll make something shake. But you also got to think about the other coach that they have too. They have Robert Saleh, who held the Eagles' high-powered offense to, you said what, 15 points?
19.
19 points? Yeah, 19 points. And the thing about that is, like, you have so many different opportunities. Like, they were open. AJ Brown, those drops were open. Saquon had a lot of good runs there, but they get stagnant when your play calling doesn't meet up with the expectations that you need it to. And like we see, their offensive coordinator, the Eagles' offensive coordinator, got fired this week. But you just can't have a predictable offense against a defense like Robert Saleh. Like, it's just something that's like not gonna work. It's never gonna work. You run the same exact plays 2 or 3 times in a row in the last drive of the game. You run Saquon in similar situations throughout the game. AJ Brown, yes, you can get it to him in certain situations, but it's like it's so predictable to defensive coordinators when you look at it from an overall standpoint. The plays that they're running, the fourth down play, the last play of the season, Jalen Hurts had nowhere to throw it because they ran 4 verticals on 4th and 10 against a cover 3 or a cover 4 defense. That makes no sense whatsoever. There's no break routes inside. There's no break routes outside. You expect at least one of the guys to beat a defender who's expecting them to go further than 10 yards. So, all in all, I just think like Dom said, it was the Eagles' game to lose. Niners, it's incredible what they're doing. George Kittle is the light of their team, and I mean the light because every single time you see him on the sideline, he's always, making clips. He's always hyping people up. He's Brock Purdy's hype man. Like, Brock Purdy has so much confidence when he's on the field. So it'll be interesting what they look like next week. C-Mac is going to be featured a lot. Marcus Robinson, Gabe said it. His stats insane. Nobody saw Demarcus Robinson even having 40 yards. So Niners, they're just amazing. Kyle Shanahan won't get the Coach of the Year award because it's a storyline thing. Like, you have, of course, people always say Mike Tomlin's losing seasons. You have Liam Cohen with the Jags. You have Vrabel with the Pats. Those two have revival seasons. It's hard because he deserves it, especially for everything that the Niners go through on a year-to-year basis. It's so easy.
Yeah, shout out to the 49ers for being able to do what they've been able to do this year, despite all the injuries that they've had. Started this year with no Brandon Ayuk, and then Ricky Pearsall gets hurt, your first round receiver. And then on top of that, you got Kittle going out now. You had Bosa out earlier in the year. You have Fred Warner, who potentially his practice window just got opened, so he might be returning here soon. We'll see. But that's some of the best guys in the league, man.
And you
Respect.
forget about all pro Trent Williams. Like, they have so many different injuries, bro.
Yeah, so shout out to the 49ers for what they've been able to do. Truly incredible. In the wild card round, other games that we had going on, these two we got four games that were really close in the score, and we got two that were not so close in the score. First things first, we'll go over Patriots versus the Chargers. That matchup, I personally thought the Chargers could maybe eke that one out a little bit, but they didn't have anything to show during that game. I mean, they were stagnant. The defense kind of held up decent-ish, it felt like, but the offense just couldn't get anything rolling. When you score 3 points, you're not going to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see Greg Roman on the sideline of an NFL team ever again. He is absolutely awful. How do you? I was looking at. I think he's 1-5 with Herbert and Lamar as his quarterbacks in the playoffs. Like how is that even possible? You have two of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you can't do anything with them. I mean that offense was so dead. I mean, it was just completely dead. Herbert was running for his life. He's getting sacked left and right. And Herbert didn't play a good game either. I'm not going to use that. But
He
also,
got sacked 6 times, though. I mean,
right. When you have Matt Canada Jr. calling plays on the side, it's kind of to be productive in games, regardless of how good you are. I do think the Chargers defense held up nice. The Chargers offense line was awful, and Herbert didn't look good either. And the Patriots, that was more of a defensive showing than anything. And that I think they're another team that really needs to clean stuff up if they want to keep winning games, because they should have won that game by 40 points.
no cap.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. They should have definitely dominated that game on the scoreboard. They definitely did it on the field, of course. Chargers only had 3 points. And you guys can blame Justin Herbert all you want. He had 31 dropbacks. Yep. I heard somewhere that he was pressured 30 times out of 31 dropbacks.
I did.
Now, I get it. You have offensive firepower everywhere, bro. I mean, like, if we're looking at an overall offense, there are maybe like 2 or 3 that are more overall constructed than the Chargers. They have Quentin Johnston, the deep threat. They have Keenan Allen, their reception guy. They have Lad McConkey, a crazy route runner. And then they have Trey Harris, who's young and electric. And then you have Haskins, and you have, oh my gosh, and Marion Hampton as your running backs. That is an amazing team. But your 2 top draft picks on the O-line are out. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. Those are your 2 guys who you wanted to build the offensive around, especially when you're trying to protect Justin Herbert. When you have one of those guys out, okay, manageable, you can do some stuff. 2 of those guys out, your edges are done for. So the Patriots, I think that's exactly how they want to win. Vrabel will take every single win possible, especially the ones that are gritty, defensive played. I mean, he has a offense built for leads. He has a defense built for any type of game. The offense can chew the clock with their running backs. They always have receivers open. Josh McDaniels does a great job of scheming his guys open almost every play. So, and of course, Drake May isn't going to turn the thing over. He hasn't all season. So, yeah, it was their first playoff game. They should have dominated by more, should have put up 30 or 40. But that was a great performance by them for real.
For real, though, Jerry, 30 out of 31 times?
Somewhere, and to be honest, watching the game, I believe it. I heard the stat, and I was like, there's no way. But then you watch the game, and it's like, well, he was running on almost every play, and he didn't have time to set up and get a good ball out a whole lot. So, I mean, yeah, it could have been a stat that's overplayed or not overplayed, overhyped. And, somebody could have overhyped the numbers, but
I mean, hey, I'm gonna trust the dudes on the broadcast. There's a guy where that's his job, is to track stats like that and tell the broadcasters. So
first, sometimes I thought I was watching the Titans out there as Cam Ward just snapped run. Like,
yeah, Justin Herbert with a broken hand had to run the ball 10 times. Got 60 yards rushing on the ground. There wasn't much to cover from that game. I mean, Drake May, I'd say, was really the only one who had a great game on the offensive side of things on either side of the ball. Defensive side of things, Odafe Owe forced 2 fumbles. I mean, that was a great game for him on the Chargers and on the Patriots side as well. You had Marcus Jones got himself a sack and a forced fumble. Caleb Chason had a forced fumble, and it kind of was just a cohesive Patriots defensive unit effort altogether. So yeah, that was a great showing from the Patriots defense. Once again, as Dom said, and just like Jerry said, Justin Herbert's not really going to be able to do much if he's kind of running for his life the whole football game. Last football game we witnessed, Monday Night Football, Houston's roll into Pittsburgh, 30 for the Texans, 6 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not even. I'm really. It could be easy pickings to get on your guys' head right now, just because. But honestly, I don't even want to. It's an end of an era. You know, Mike T is gone now. You know what I mean? Christian Kirk went for 150 yards and a touchdown. Woody Marks went for 110 yards and a touchdown. And the Steelers just could not get anything rolling the whole game. I mean, Steelers offense and Chargers offense from last week were one and the same. It really felt like kind of the same deal. You know what I mean? Not great blocking. Rodgers kind of running for his life out there. You got miscommunication with the receivers. Guys aren't making big plays, and then you go into halftime in that game. It's 7-6. The Steelers have life, and then game's done. It's 30-6.
Yeah, going into the fourth quarter, it was 10-6. So that game got out of hand extremely, extremely quickly. I was gonna say I know the score was 30-6, but it didn't feel to me that they put up 30 points just because of the way the game was going the whole time.
The defensive touchdown.
It was really just right. I was gonna say the defense, and I mean we learned real quick. I mean I knew that the Houston
real
was legit, but they were not making life for Aaron Rodgers easy whatsoever. And when you don't have any route running receivers or playmakers to get the ball to, it makes life so. And pair that with receiver making $40 million who's dropping everything, and
Okay, he wasn't necessarily dropping everything. He went two and a
DK.
half.
Y'all know how I feel about DK.
He went 2.5 quarters without getting a reception, a target. He
yeah,
didn't have a target for the middle of that game until the fourth quarter.
he dropped a really important ball that hit him.
Yeah,
I know what
quarter.
exactly you're talking about.
That drop was in the first quarter, and then Aaron Rodgers didn't target him until the fourth quarter.
That's the thing, though. He probably wasn't getting open. Like
Rodgers has said on record, he doesn't care what your name is. He's going to target the guys he can trust.
right.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely. And the saddest part is the Steelers' defense. Aside from I know they got gashed.
Incredible.
They locked down Stroud.
Really? Dude, you know Stroud fumbled 5 times?
5 times. Lost 2 of them.
3 of them, let me just say, were balls that were just snapped to in the chest and around. But I saw it was a crazy. I don't even remember what player it was, but Stroud is the first player to. It's like in a game when he fumbled 5 times since I don't even know. I wish I could remember the stat exactly. But I'm just like, that's so Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Texans want to continue to go farther, they got to clean that up, because if the Steelers had any kind of weapons on offense, that game would have been a completely different game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Turn the ball over that many times, you got to expect the offense to make you pay. It just could not do anything. So, as a Steelers fan, obviously, I'm going to root for the Steelers. I'm going to say my team is going to win.
No duh.
Going into the game, of course, I was skeptical. The defense is really good. Our offense isn't as crazy. It's not too explosive. But I had to ride for the guys, man. You know how it be. But
Had to. You had to. I'm not blaming either of y'all. That's why I said this week I'm not going to give no flack for the Steelers fans picking the Steelers, bro. The Steelers fans got to pick the Steelers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll let Jerry give his take on the game before we talk about what happened after. So
yeah, no. I'll ask you guys one more time. This is the last time I ask you guys, I promise. Am I a biased person?
Yes.
I'm an extremely biased person. I knew that from the very beginning. Last week, I let out all of the facts why I shouldn't pick the Steelers. And they all came true. The defensive secondary broke, and I mean broke. The Steelers' defense is a bend, don't break defense. They had an amazing first half, led by so many fumbles, led by so many pressures. And then you get to the fourth quarter, and your offense still has 6 points, and you're expected to still bend, don't break. It's not something that's going to happen. Brandon Eccles, I love you. You had an amazing season. You had a great pick. The rest of that game was horrible. Christian Kirk, we're not going to make the mistake that Stephen A did. Christian Kirk let up or went for 100+ yards. I don't know how many times he did that this season.
144.
144. That's got to be his high for the season. And every single time I've seen him in open space.
Might be career high.
It might be. But every single time I've seen him in an open space, I see a little number 26 with dreads trying to run after him. It's just not something that works. We got gashed by Zay Flowers, running cover zero last week. And then we didn't learn from it. We just thought T.J. Watt and Y.A. Black and everybody would get there in time the whole entire game. So Stroud, you guys, like Dom said, you guys have to clean it up because your defense is absolutely amazing. He's going to keep you in every single game possible. The offense got to put up some points, though. You can't look like us because we ain't get the job done. We were never going to get the job done looking like that. So,
If the defense,
there's a lot of changes.
If the offense locks in on the Texans, they would be my favorite to win the Super Bowl.
And
like literally, all their offense has to do, I'll say, is be top 15 or top 20, and I feel like the Texans are winning the Super Bowl. That's all I gotta do.
To be a perfect game manager. You have Woody Marks who can go for 100. You have Nico Collins and Christian Kirk who can obviously go for 144. You have a defense who can hold teams to 6 points. And it's just going to be a test of whether or not their defense is a bend don't break defense when it comes down to the fourth quarter. And if they are, of course, you can go as far as your defense takes them. Steelers, there's too many questions to figure out this offseason. What do you do with your edge rushers? What do you do about the coach? What do you do with the defense as a whole? There's too many changes coming to Steelers, and this might be the end of an amazing era for us, though. We might be, done.
And before we go into some of the divisional games as well, I will ask my Steelers fans right here what they're feeling about the Mike Tomlin firing. We talked about this off the podcast the last couple of days. I know y'all both love Mike Tomlin, so I'm going to say as a disclaimer first, this could be something that takes 20 minutes. Try making it a little quicker.
Yeah, I love.
Because I know how much y'all love Mike Tomlin.
Right to the point. I've always been an advocate for Tomlin for a long time. Way past. I mean, they've been saying that Mike should be fired years.
For sure. When Ben left,
right, and it was like this year. It kind of got to a point where it's like Mike Tomlin is a great coach. I think everybody knows that. Mike Tomlin wanted to be a head coach in the NFL, which I think he kind of hinted that he wants to take some time off, but he wanted to be a head coach in the NFL. He could have a job tomorrow. There was people calling his phone like crazy, I'm sure. He was probably like the hottest chick on the block for a little bit because
people are already interested in it.
Right. I honestly just think it was a situation where both of us needed a change of scenery. It almost felt like Mike Tomlin couldn't do any more for us, and we couldn't do anything for Mike Tomlin, and it was just time to let it go. I love Mike Tomlin. I appreciate his 19 years that he gave us, and he is a legend. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. And I'm interested to see what the Steelers are going to do. It's going to be interesting to see because I just saw today too, Art Rooney. Or the Rooney, I don't know if it's Art, but it's the Rooneys. They said it's up to the new head coach if they want to keep the defensive and offensive coordinator. So if they want to clean house,
they'll better not. They better. I don't care who you are.
Most head coaches won't. They'll usually bring in their own guys. So it's going to be a completely different look for the Steelers next year. And I don't know how I feel about it yet. It feels weird. I still don't believe that Mike Tomlin's gone because he's just been there my whole life. So Very
Yeah.
weird thing, Mike, but I do think, even though it is extremely sad, I think it's probably best for both parties in this situation.
Dom, I know you didn't, I know you weren't on campus as much as me and Gabe were, but I know you can relate. You guys ever been to a party where it's just like, it's great, it's fun, and then it gets to that time of the night where you're just ready to go, and
You know you gotta go.
your friends are still
Gotta go.
having so much fun that you can't, but it's like you have to go. It's kind of like that. Like Mike Tomlin, his success was never wavered. Like he always brought amazing moments. He always had amazing teams around him. He always got the most out of his teams and his press conferences like no other. That's the main thing I'm gonna miss about Mike Tomlin. His one-liners, man, are incredible. They really are. So it's gonna sting seeing him leave because this probably means we are going into purgatory. But it had to happen. The team that we built could only succeed this year and only this year. You have aging stars and Cam Hayward and you know T.J. Watt's on the other side of 30. Jalen Ramsey's getting up there. You have a whole, of course, Aaron Rodgers probably wasn't going to come back anyways. So you have a team that's built for at most this year, and then a whole lot of question marks for next year. I think you just get a fresh start. I think it was time. He can still be in Pittsburgh the rest of his life and never have to pay for a dinner. But
Never have to pay for a dinner. Never have to pay for a beer.
if he would have stayed another 2 to 3 years and went in this rebuild with us, the team would have probably banned him for life because it wasn't going in the right direction. We were too stagnant. You can't get to the high too quickly and then just stay in the middle the whole entire way through and just coast. That's not something you can't do in the NFL. So it was time. I wish he does go into at least media for the first year if he's out of coaching because dude is amazing to watch. Like I love him as a personality.
You know what I'd want to see? I'd want to see Mike Tomlin and Nick Saban on the same panel.
Oh, bro,
That would be awesome.
That would be incredible, honestly.
Bro.
That would be awesome.
That
But
would be
I said to Dom earlier, I said shout out to Mike Tomlin just in the sense that he's in his late 40s or early 50s, and he built a Hall of Fame. And he built a Hall of Fame resume for coaching career. I mean, that's awesome. Mike Tomlin has lived the life of an NFL coach, one that coached into their 70s, and he can stop in his early 50s. So from a purely human standpoint, you know what I mean? Shout out to Mike Tomlin. He might, get to spend some time with your family, Mike T.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Go enjoy the rest of the middle part of your life before you get old and you can't start walking around anymore.
The last thing I'll say about that too is so since he didn't get fired, the Steelers retain his rights. So if he's ever going to coach again in the NFL,
get traded.
He's got to get traded. So that'll be interesting to see if that ever comes.
That'll be very interesting because with that fact, of course, I don't know, but there's got to be some teams out there who are trying to figure out ways to get that trade done.
Like, coaches get traded for more than you think, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think multiple firsts, damn near.
Sean Payton got traded, I'm pretty sure, for some firsts.
He did.
Like a first and a second or something like that.
But I don't know how much of a deterrent it is because he did resign, and teams aren't really going to reluctantly give you 2 first-round picks for somebody who isn't going to be in your building. But if they do trade for him, you can get at least one. For sure.
At least I'll give you at least if Sean Payton was going for a first and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin is going for a first.
Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin. The thing about Mike Tomlin, this league is a heavy schematics league where a lot of head coaches are offensive gurus. Mike Tomlin's one of those culture changers, bro. Like he walks in the room, demands respect, and everybody listens to him. Like there's not gonna be someone who just slanders his name, slanders his leadership, and stuff like that. So. There's a lot of teams that need culture changes.